Welcome to Peter and Roughie's football show, the Scottish Cup final special. Gabriel Antoniazzi and Darren Jackson joining me live, ready for St Johnstone against Hibernian. Thoroughly looking forward to this one. Hard to believe that we had a Scottish Cup final settled in December, and now we're back there again at the National Stadium, ready for two sides that may well not have been everyone's favourites to make it to the Hampden showpiece, but they're there and they're dreaming of glory. One of them dreaming of a double this season. 2 cups in the bag if Callum Davison can do it for St Johnstone, and a third place finish and a Scottish Cup win. That's what's on offer for Jack Ross. So give us your thoughts. Who do you think is going to win? We'd love to hear from you on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube as well. You can follow us on Facebook and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel to join the football family. It's a lovely day for a Hampden final, Roughie.
Yeah, and again, we're going to moan about there's not enough supporters in the ground. They would have made this a really, really good day for both sets of fans. Players, sorry, but the players will have to get on with it. They've been there before. They know what it's like. They know the atmosphere is going to be a wee bit eerie, but it's a big, big day for both teams, and obviously big day for St Johnstone to get another cup win. Obviously, Hibs with the 2 defeats in the semi-final will want to make sure that this is a win this time. So both sets of players have got lots to play for.
Yep, and there's Charlie Adams' catchphrase for the entire season on this programme: big games, big players. Gabriel Antoniazzi is out there at Hampden for us. You're at all these games, Gabriel.
Yes, I am, and I've got to say, when I found out it was the 22nd of May for the Scottish Cup final, I thought it might be a little bit better weather-wise and we'd have some fans in, but hey-ho, here we are, the last game of the domestic season, Hibs against St Johnstone. Big players, big games. Perhaps those big players for Hibs will be the front three of Martin Boyle, Kevin Nisbet and Christian Deutsch. 46 goals between them so far this campaign. They'll be hoping to add a few more before the full-time whistle here today. And it's a mean attack against a mean defence. You've got St Johnstone's back three of Jason Kerr, Liam Gordon and also Chris McCart at the back. All three of them will be looking to keep a clean sheet and lead St Johnstone to another cup. In terms of odds, Hibs are just favourites, despite the fact that St Johnstone have beaten the East Road outfit 3 times in the last 3 meetings. You can get Hibs at 13-10. St Johnstone are about 11-5. If you think it will go all the way to penalties, it's 9-2. In terms of players, first goal scorer, the favourite for that is Kevin Nisbet after his Scotland call-up. You can get him at 10-3, whilst Chris Kane to score the winner for St Johnstone is 15-2.
Well, there you are. He set it up beautifully. Before I get Darren's thoughts on, I'm going to give a few people a mention who have joined us on this broadcast. A lovely line from Lucy MacArthur, who says, for once they're not talking about the Old Firm. I'm sure somebody will sneak it in, Lucy, but we're not. We're talking about St Johnstone against Hibs. Hi to Kathy Conahan, Lee Sarton, Billy Knapp is there as well. Alec Mitchell, great to have you watching the programme from Durham. Niles with us, Charlie Boyle as well. May the best team win as long as it's a good game of football. I agree with you, Charlie, on that. We've got lots of people offering, and hi to Barry Grant, who's in Dubai. I can't think of a better place to be, Darren, other than Hampden Park. Gabriel set it up brilliantly, Darren, but it's so tight to call.
I do think, Peter, obviously you're going to ask later on for predictions. I just do think it is honestly too close to call. I think there's 2 teams that they've had very good seasons. Hibs got over their 2 semi-final defeats to win the last one. St Johnstone, I think, have just been a revelation this year. I think Callum's done an incredible job to get into the top 6 and to win a cup and then get to another cup final. I think they've got, as Gabriel said about their defence, not just the 3 at the back, the ones that play in front of them as well, but the 3 at the back do extremely well for them, and they've got a goalkeeper that they've got a lot of confidence in. So yes, it's set up to be a real good game, but I think it is so tight.
Yeah, is this your cup final haircut, Darren? I'm just having a look at it there. It looks as if it's well sharp. Is that your cup final haircut?
No, I've had it cut about 10 days now, Peter.
Brilliant, just clean water getting through to Falkirk. Then it's always good. Always good. He looks sharp as ever. Roughie. Gabriel is there in full flight. We have to tell you, boys, we played our first PLZ five-a-side team the other day there, and we were rank rotten.
Very bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we need a full pre-season. Michael Clark says, "Come on, you Saints from sunny Cairo." Cairo as well. I mean, the places that join us. Salisbury. Sandy Barr says he thinks Hibs will win. And Jamie Elwood says 2-2 with St Johnstone to win on penalties. So lots of people, and Charlie Boyle's amazed he got a mention. Don't worry about it. When we've got time, we try and give as many people a mention as possible. Ronnie Chapman says, I'm hoping for a St Johnstone win today, Peter. I think we've got the makings of a great game. Of course, as Gabriel said, they are great strikers, in one team, and a team that's built on a solid defence for St Johnstone at the other end. I think first goal might be important in this one. But let's find out about the teams. Gabriel's got an in-depth look, first of all, at the favourites, Hibernian.
Hibernian are aiming to lift their second Scottish Cup in 6 seasons after their 114-year wait was ended in 2016 as captain David Gray scored in stoppage time to beat Rangers. Gray will be on the bench this time round, but fellow defender Ryan Porteous is in line to start. He was in the crowd that day as a fan, and he said lifting the cup with his boyhood club today would complete a lifelong ambition.
This was my dream growing up. That goal, that one kind of thing that you really want to try and do is win the Scottish Cup of Hibs, regardless of whether the team done it in 2016 or not. It's always been a lifelong goal for me, and now that we've kind of put ourselves in a position as a team, it's something I definitely don't want to pass by.
It's been Hibs' best season for 15 years after a third place finish in the league, and plenty of that success can be put down to manager Jack Ross, although he insists it's all on the players. However, St Johnstone have been their bogey team this campaign, losing the last 3 matches to the Perth side, including a 3-0 hammering in the League Cup semi-final.
I've enjoyed the games against Callum's team this year. I think that we've probably the difficult opponents as they have done to most of the teams in Scotland this year, if not all of them. And this week our challenge has been the balance between getting the players to remain true to what they've done in the main this season, and then adding the little bits of detail that we hope will give us that edge in winning the game at the weekend.
There will be no fans inside, despite others returning across the country and the UK due to Glasgow's Tier 3 status. It's no doubt a blow for the supporters, but the teams remained fully focused.
We never became accustomed to not having supporters in the stadium, and I think it becomes even more acute when you look at the significance of the weekend's game and the potential outcome of it. So that is probably a disappointment that remains the case, but then stripping it back from there, the excitement around being involved in the Scottish Cup final and beating a team out there remains the same. It's a special tournament to me.
These Hibs players have the chance to make themselves legends, just like the class of 2016, if they can lift the club's 4th ever Scottish Cup.
I think it was Kasper Schmeichel, Roughie, who mentioned after winning the cup with Leicester City at the weekend that nobody really remembers anyone who finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th in the league. It's about winning cups. It's about winning leagues. Winning cups, that's when fans look back and remember the teams, the legendary teams.
Yeah, you're perfectly right. And he's right as well. You don't have many dinners for the runners-up. They're simply forgotten, and the dinners are all for winners, and that's sport through and through. If you look, perfect example for that is Wimbledon. If you look at the Wimbledon final. The guy who wins it, is out in the middle, he's taking everything. The guy who's beat is just sitting in his chair with his hands in his head, and that's what losers is all about. So that's the motivation for both sets of players. You want to be a winner. You don't want to be in the end of it. For some of them, it won't come round again. And for the ones that do win it, they will be legends. And it's fantastic to be associated at a club. It doesn't matter what club you're playing at, if you're always welcome through that front door because of the success that you've had.
And the great thing about this cup final is either side, whoever wins, you get to get on the bus. You get to parade the cup around the city centre. That's what's magnificent about it as well. And I think Hibs fans and St Johnstone fans will certainly be dreaming of that. Gabriel, you've had a look. You've had a chat with the managers and the players. You've put together a predicted 11. Let's look at your Hibs one and your thinking behind it.
Yeah, so obviously Hibs finished third in the Premier League. It's their best finish in 15 years. We think we'll go for this formation. It's very adaptable. Sometimes it's the three at the back. Boyle drops into that wing-back position and Doig pushes on. But defensively, it can switch to the four. You have McGinn going into full-back and Doig dropping in there as well. They have been very impressive since the turn of the year, especially. Only lost one of their last 7 matches. As I said, it's all about that front three. They try and get the ball to them as quickly as possible, but this is what we think we'll go with. We know that they'll go for Matt Macy in goal. Ophir Marciano has played the last game for the Easter Road club. McGinn, Porteous and Hanlon in the back three with Boyle and Doig as wing-backs. Gogic and Irvin in the middle of the park, along with Joe Newell and Nisbet and Doig up front. Perhaps the most fearsome strike duo in Scotland at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the form here, Darren, of the two teams, amazingly, there's Hibs. I was at that game against Celtic. It was a complete snore draw. They managed to do what they were hoping to do, which was that crucial win over Aberdeen. Has really put them on a high, Darren.
Yes, Peter, I was at the Celtic game as well, and they had 7 changes. I don't think Jack would have looked into anything in that game. So, but yes, the Aberdeen game was the big one, and you talk about players standing up for big occasions, and they needed that one, and they got 3rd place. I can kind of agree with Gabby's selection. I'm not sure about 3 at the back. They could be the 3 at the back when they're in possession. So Doig's pushed on a bit, but I think Irvin will probably go out to the left. I think it'll be more maybe a 4-4-2. Irvin coming in inside on the left. So, but that's the way they've been playing. But obviously, when you look at the team, the front three are the big assets. Boyle's pace, and the combination. I mean, many teams don't play 2 strikers together now, Peter, and both teams are doing it today, and I think it's great. And I think that Doig and Nisbet do have a good understanding. It is when I look back in my time at Hibs, like myself and Keith Wright, and then there was Mickey Weir and Kevin McAllister out wide. It was kind of similar, that Nisbet will drop off, Doig will be the big target man, and he'll play off him and all that. And so, but it's a good solid side, and as I say, 3rd in the league, they'll be delighted. But this is a big one for them.
Yeah, John Higgins says, "Hey guys, I'm from Toronto. Come on, the high bees." And he says, "Roughie, you're getting on my nerves. That new album on the wall is away to the side." Don't worry about that, John. John, don't worry about that. I can tell you, everybody in their granny has battered him this season for that wall. And you better believe it, Roughie. Well, this is the last time we'll see you with that wall, because you're coming in here. I'm certain you're coming in here when we're all back in the studio, Roughie. I bet you can't wait.
No, I mean, your studio's spick and span. Everything's precise. Everything is as it should be. And I think everybody who tunes in will see the difference between me sitting in this dining room and in your studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we talked about the Hibs side. Let's have a look now as Gabriel goes a little bit more in-depth with St Johnstone.
If anyone had told a St Johnstone fan, player, or even the manager that they'd be 1 game away from a cup double come May, they wouldn't have believed it. But here they are, the Perth Saints on course for their best ever season, with a 5th place finish and a League Cup already in the bag. Despite their success and recent dominance over Hibs, boss Callum Davidson feels the Edinburgh side are favourites.
Hibs have had an unbelievable season. I think they've been brilliant as well. I think football they've played, they've got the semi-final, finally finished 3rd. So, they've had a really good season. They're a really good group of players. I know quite a lot of them. So, who's favourites? Probably say Hibs for the edge just now.
Part of that does come down to the fact that the club have been rocked by a COVID outbreak over the past 2 weeks, with the team only training on Wednesday. Several players have been missing recently, but all should be available tomorrow. Davidson now has a selection dilemma.
If you asked me 3 weeks ago what my team was, I probably would have told you. But now things have changed a little bit, so they're a little bit up in the air. There's places up for grabs that it's going to be a difficult call on who to pick. And I'll only get it right if we win it. So
Liam Craig and Murray Davison could come back into the middle of the park with the impressive Ali McCann ahead of them, while shootout hero Xander Clark is back in goal. Callum Booth will start at left wing back. He struggled to find the words to describe what victory would mean.
It would mean absolutely everything, I suppose. It's been, as I said, the last 3-4 months have just been, better than anyone could ever have expected. And now we've got one last push, and we want to go and try and finish the job off and create real history.
Whatever the outcome today, it will have been a fantastic campaign for Davidson and his men. But lifting that cup would send him down as the Saints' most successful ever manager, all in his first season.
I mean, a double, Roughie. I mean, it's outrageous when you think about it. St Johnstone, I mean, they've been locked tight at times at the back, and then they just grind away and sneak the odd goal here and there, and then you think to yourself, oh, it's going to be a battle to try and beat them.
Yeah, I think if you ask all good managers, they start building their team for the back. Obviously, the goalkeeper and the back four or back three are always really, really important. And we all rave about them because they have had a tremendous season, the goalkeeper and the defence. But if you look at the Hibs defence and you look at their Hanlon, Porteous and Doig, you would have to say that they're three players on the fringe of Scottish internationals. So you would say on paper that they are the stronger players individually, but that's not been the case this year. And I think that's where Hibs' success have to come from today. They need to be better than what they have been in some games, because if any time that Hibs have been let down or lost a game, it's been through the defence. It's not been the midfield or up front. They've all done their bit. So I think if the Hibs defenders turn up and play to the standard that we know they can, I think that'll be a big thing for Hibs.
Gabriel, what was your thinking behind the 11 for St Johnstone?
I'm just waiting for Darren to pick it apart again, but no, he was right with the Jackson and he does pop out left for Hibs at time. But if we can just see the St Johnstone 11 right now, Sander Clark will come back in goal. He's missed the last two, but he was a shootout hero in the quarterfinal against Rangers. The back three that I mentioned of Kerr, Gordon and McCart, absolutely solid all campaign. Wing backs, Rooney, keep an eye out for him. He likes to get in the box and score. He's been a revelation since Christmas. He came in for Danny McNamara, who went back on loan to Millwall. We've got Booth playing on the other side. I spoke to him midweek as well. He could hardly get his words out what it would mean. Who would have ever thought St Johnstone 2 cups in one season? In the middle, we think Liam Craig will come in, but you could see Murray Davidson slot inside as well. Alan McCann will certainly start. Highly coveted youngster. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but big clubs are circling around him. David Wotherspoon, 31-year-old Canada international, start just playing in that kind of free role, number 10. It might just be off the left or right. He's very creative. He likes that double step over with Guy Melamed and Chris Kane up front. Kane scored in both the semi-final and the quarter-final. A quick one about manager Callum Davidson, of course. He could be the most successful Saints manager ever, just in his first season. He's got a lucky tradition here at Hampden. He goes to the Florida Cafe, which is just about half a mile that way. It's his good luck to get 4 coffees for him and his management team. Did it in both League Cup semi-finals and final. Did it in the semi-final here, and I'm sure he'll be doing it today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's superstition, which is something that some people are obsessed by. Roughie, were you superstitious in any way, doing something the same, pulling a sock up, going out last in the tunnel?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me. Depending how far we got in the cup, I wore the same underpants in every game. Fortunately, we always get knocked out in the third round. I wouldn't have liked to see the state of them if we go to the final.
Brilliant. I wish I hadn't asked you now, Roughie, to be honest with you, but nevertheless, it is superstition. I mean, by the way, footballers are like that, there was listen, Dan, when I used to go to work sometimes, if I didn't see 2 magpies, I was raging. So what were you like when you were playing football?
I like to be the last on the pitch, Peter. And normally I was, because I wasn't getting a game. No, I like to be the last on the pitch, and I always like to carry a ball out, and just as I got on the pitch, I used to drop kick it. That was just a superstition. That was really. I liked going in at 11 minutes to 11 minutes before kick-off. I always used to ask when it was 11 minutes. I used to go in, and I don't know why. Listen, I don't know why. The last one of mine being with Scotland, and John McGinley used to like being last as well, so we had to walk out together. So yeah, we all have our superstitions. It's something that you think is in your head that settles you, and if it does settle you, you carry on with it. And Callum's probably done that today, going up and got the coffees, because that's in his head that it's worked in the past. I'm going to carry on. It doesn't mean you're going to win the game, but it just settles you and it puts you in a good place.
Yeah, absolutely. Good line from Gabriel on that with Callum Davison. David Palfreman says, a shout out to Paul McCrossan. He's a first time listener. Paul, we're delighted that you have joined us. What took you so long? I mean, we've only been on for what, a year in lockdown, Roughie? For God's sake, you should have been with us since the start. It's been brilliant. We've been arguing, we've been battering each other, we've had fallouts, we've had a few good laughs as well. And of course, week in, week out, there's been all sorts of skullduggery going on. It has to be Scottish football. So, Paul, we're delighted. Kathy Conan says, thank God Roughie's not going to be in that house. That wall drives me mad. So that just gives you an indication of the type of things in superstitions. And Lucy is there. She's saying, any excuse to talk about a team playing in blue for me, says Lucy. Lucy, we don't mind. Everybody gives us their thoughts on their favourite team and whether your favourite team is playing or not today. It's always good to get your opinion on how you think this one is going to shape up. Roughie, give us your thoughts on the forum, because if you look at St Johnstone's forum, I mean, apart from that hiding from Celtic, they've been stuffy when it really matters.
Yeah, I think that's a confidence thing. When you get into a mindset that you're hard to beat, the players start to believe it as well. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. The Celtic one was a pandemic thing. Obviously, St Johnstone had a lot of players out. But apart from that, if you go into games and other teams know that you are very difficult to beat, it's always good to have it in your back pocket. But today, I think the guys have all talked about the players from either side. I just get a wee bit anxious when the main man in a team is the goalkeeper. And Xander Clark's been up there, for the last 3 or 4 games, obviously the Rangers game and other games. And that means they are getting got at, not in large numbers, but he's making big, important saves. So I think he'll have to do that again today. He'll have to be a big, big player for them.
Yeah, Christopher has sent us a message on Facebook. He says, Hibs are going to win today, and where is Charlie Adam? Well, Charlie, as you know, when he does have a day off ahead of that big match against Kilmarnock, he is probably somewhere in Dundee hitting a 40-yard diagonal, just practising for the big game as well. And because Dundee are in a good position, it's a little nip and tuck at 2-1, but they're certainly with their noses in front at the moment. So who knows who's going to win that game and go through and stay in the Premiership, or indeed move up from the Championship to the Premiership. Thanks to Christopher for that message. And also to Ronnie Chapman, who says, best show in town, Peter. Ronnie, thank you for that. That's a lovely compliment, because obviously we hope to be bigger and better and tweak a few things next season as well, and we'll have a lot more laughs because we'll be in the studio. We'll get a chance to engage with each other again. I always feel, I don't know about you, Darren, I like the sense of our programme when it's got dressing room humour, where we can all literally be next to each other and give each other a real doing, which is the best way you can enjoy the programme.
Yeah, of course that is, Peter. Listen, I think that this has been great that we can do this over the computer and all that, but it's not the same as being with each other and someone's going to say something and you're looking at them and you can butt in and all that. It's a lot harder, but it's just like any work. It's just like any football team. It's getting a bond. It's getting a spirit amongst each other and all that, and you can have a go at, and that's when people can bounce off each other. So, but going back to Xander Clark, I'm sure when Roughie made big saves in games, he would think he was the top man as well. But I think Witherspoon's the top man in the St Johnstone team. Peter, see going back to when we played them in the Scottish Cup final, and this is me, I'm being not disrespectful at all, because see Dave Mackay, Stephen Anderson, God Almighty, Easton and Fraser Wright. I mean, I'm not saying they weren't good players, but they were absolutely unbelievable defenders. They weren't the quickest, but they were absolutely fantastic defenders for them. And I think that's what Callum's got with this 3 as well. Playing, obviously, as Roughie said, playing in front of a good keeper as well. And that's where I think it'll be really tight today.
And was God Almighty overlapping for that full-back position?
That's exactly what I was going to say, Roughie. I think the reason why St Johnstone won was because God Almighty was playing, and that's probably why they just edged it. Yeah. You said Dave Mackay. God Almighty and somebody else. There's no reason why they should lose without God Almighty on his side. But anyway, thanks to Niall Kane, who's been he's been here since the start. Niall, great to have you on board. He says, hopefully Dundee finished the job second leg. Great goal by Charlie Adam. Kathy Conant says, it's been the best thing happening during lockdown. Lots of laughs and kept us going. So thanks again. Thank you for that, Kathy, because we have indeed tried to survive first and foremost. We've got it in the neck for suggesting some people should take the vaccine. That annoyed a few people. And then, of course, we leathered Roughie. One of my favourite periods was over easily 2 months when every one of us battered Roughie for his skullduggery on his WhatsApp group that brought Scottish football to a halt. But we all got through it. And in the end, we've got Rangers as the champions in Scotland. We have St Johnstone as the League Cup winners in Scotland. And there's just one thing left to decide. And you would think at this moment, Gabriel, that the teams shouldn't be too far away from your fingertips.
You're not wrong. They have come out right now. We'll start with Hibernian. They go exactly as we expected. In goal, you've got Matt Macy, the sub-keeper all season in the league. He is the cup goalie. He starts. Paul McGinn plays right back with the two centre-halves of Ryan Porteous and Paul Hanlon. Hanlon will captain the side. He'll be hoping to lift the trophy at the full-time whistle. Porteous was in the stand back in 2016 as a fan in the Hibs Youth Academy. He'll be playing today. Youngster Josh Doig starts at left back. He'll have plenty of suitors watching today. Watford were the latest club rumoured to be after him, along with likes of Leicester and Arsenal. You've got Boyle on the right. He's got 15 goals this season. If there's a penalty, he'll be taking it. In the middle, you've got Alex Gogic and Joe Newell. And on the left, Darren Jackson. It's Jackson Irvine. He'll also be dropping inside everywhere. Jack Ross highlighted his importance since he came in at January. And up front, it's Kevin Nisbet, 18 goals this season and a Scotland call-up. He'll be playing at the Euros next to Christian Doig, who didn't start the semi-final against St Johnstone earlier this year, but he's got 2 goals in his last 3 games. I can also bring you the St Johnstone 11, which is slightly different. You've got Xander Clark in goal. You do have the preferred back 3 of Kirk, Gordon and McCart. Booth and Rooney are the 2 wing-backs. So it's the back 5 or 3 with the 2 wing-backs, exactly as we expected. In the middle of the park, you have Ali McCann with Bryson. Middleton gets the nod, playing with Wotherspoon behind Kane. So there's no Craig, there's no Murray Davidson. He's gone for youth with Glenn Middleton. He scored that fantastic free kick in the semi-final, and he's earned his place. He also scored against Hibs in the league. Perhaps that came into Callum Davidson's thoughts when he's picked him. And also David Wotherspoon, as Darren Jackson suggested there, the main man, perhaps today for the Saints, and Chris Kane up front, scored the equaliser against Rangers in the quarter-final and the first goal in the semi-final here. So those are your 2 lineups live from Hampden.
And I love the way Gabriel, when he wants to emphasise something, he suddenly forces his voice forward to emphasise. If there's a penalty to be taken, Boyle will take it. Whereas
Martin
he should have
Boyle,
said,
he will.
If there's a penalty to be won, Boyle will be diving for it, Roughie. That's a Is that fair, Roughie?
Yeah, well, let's hope that's not the case. If it is a penalty. If it's a penalty, let's hope it is a penalty, and no player has been sort of accused of anything. But you're right, he does go down very easily. So that's something St Johnstone defenders have to be aware of.
Yeah, here's the thing, Darren. You're in goal, and you've got one little touch. You feel the slightest touch from somebody with 2 minutes left in the game. Does Darren Jackson suddenly just fall over and win the penalty to win the cup?
Of course not. Dan Jackson stays up and tries to score.
Oh, that's what Yeah. Absolutely.
If there's a touch, if there's a touch, most people would go down. It's the name of the game. You wait for someone to give you a touch. It's maybe the defender being stupid and giving you that opportunity to actually make the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't argue with you on that. Hi, Gabriel. Do you have an umbrella in case the weather changes? Well, I think, do you?
Well, I do. Unfortunately, it's a little purple one. I don't remember if anyone was watching back at Christmas time when we were for the cup final last year, but Roughie was giving me absolute pelters for having my mum's spare umbrella in the back of the car, and that's the one I've got with me today, so let's hope it doesn't rain because it will be out again.
Well, to be fair...
I was getting you pelters because you had your earrings in as well.
Oh, here we go. Lipstick on and stockings too.
It's Yeah, who admits it's his mum's umbrella? Gabriel, I've got a PLZ one for you. If indeed you're still with us next season and you haven't kissed the badge and then, hopped off with the number 6. It's only a matter of time, son. Anyway, apart from anything else, Fiona Docherty says, Peter, when will you be back after your break? Well, Fiona, I'm glad you asked that because we will be doing some great games in the Euros as well. So hopefully you're going to stay with us for that. We'll be hearing from Roughie, from Darren, from Gabriel especially, and some of the other pundits as well have been absolutely superb for us throughout the season. I've thoroughly enjoyed, our signings of Charlie Adam and Steven Naismith, as well as our existing team, who have been absolutely brilliant. So certainly love to have them, and we'll be back with you again. And thanks to David as well, David Palfreman, who's obviously been very complimentary towards us. And by the way, I have to say, of all the people who are paying us nice compliments, Roughie, a few of them have given us pelters. We've got it in the neck. We like that too. You've got to be able to take criticism, because sometimes we open our mouth and people don't agree with it.
Yeah, then I think it's just great that they've hung in for the whole year as well. I mean, a lot of the people there are people who are there right at the very, very start. So we must be doing something right, or they just love having a go at us. It's just something for them to sort of unwind. You say, I'll go on that show and have a go at him. But they've been great.
Yeah, absolutely. I like all the people who are actually now hanging on your every word, Gabriel. I like David's assessment of where you're going. He says Gabriel will eventually move to become a spokesman for the champions of Scotland, because obviously some of your packages over the last couple of weeks have been staunch, to say the least. By the way, I thought it was going to be the Rangers team of the season. I thought they were all in subs, backroom team, the lot.
Listen, I only picked 7 Rangers players in my team of the season, but it was the PLZ faithful that picked 11 Rangers players. Chosen by you, the team of the season was 11. So yeah, I couldn't believe that. But yeah, but I have to say that over the past week after the Rangers documentary, there's been a few approaches from Rangers TV. I'm holding them off at the moment. We'll see what happens in the summer. But hey, as I said, the Brown Brogues, they could be there come August.
Yeah. Well, Roughie, it's a big shout for us. Christopher says Gabriel's going to go radio. There's no way, Gabriel. There's no way. We can't have Judas number 2 going to that station. Just you, him, and 3 listeners. Also, as well, we've got lots of people calling. Says Gab's going to the BBC. Yeah. Oh. He's got too much personality, to be honest with you. Yeah. Calm your jets. Anyway, he's with us, and we're delighted he's with us. Apart from anything else, here's the head-to-head, Roughie. St Johnstone have just seemed to have the Indian side over at Hibernian. Look at those last 3 games, Roughie.
Yeah, you often find that in a season, Peter, that there is a team that you particularly don't want to play, and because they've got a reasonable record against you. So that will be in the back of the Hibs' mind. There's no doubt about that. These scores will be reflected, and they'll have to get it out of their head and just say, look, this is a cup final. That things happen in games that if they go your way, gives you a bit of advantage. But no, I think St Johnstone will go into the game with that in the back of their minds, and Hibs will be trying to get it out of their mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Trevor Kane says, enjoy the show, love the banter, and love the fact that the fan base is all over the world. Yeah, Trevor, so do we. It gives an indication. I think we've got something like 92% of our viewers across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, and a huge audience. A lot of them are in the UK, which is great, but that 8% is a formidable figure of people from all over the place. We've got them in Oman, we've got them in Saudi Arabia, we've got them in Australia, New Zealand, and of course USA and Canada. So lots of people join us from all over the place. John Christie says, come on Hibs. It will shut Tam's mate up, no other reason. Okay, yeah, I think he's talking about Tam Cowan rather than Tam McManus on this occasion. It's a big game, and usually there's a player that steps up. Gabriel mentioned somebody there that for me, I think, is a star man. I cannot believe, no disrespect to St Johnstone, Roughie, I can't believe nobody has actually sniffed around Sean Rooney, because he is a fearsome character in that right-back role. He's big, he's bulky, he would be great for set pieces, and of course he showed his artistry around the edge of the box as well, left foot and right foot.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest asset today for St Johnstone, and if I see them going to score, it's going to be a free kick with him up there, a corner kick with him up there. Yeah, he has got a wee bit of ability as well. You're right, I think he's the kind of player that it looks like the kind of players at Aberdeen, are particularly signing. They're trying to identify, players who are very successful in our league, and he'd definitely be on, I would think, a list somewhere if he continues the form that he's doing, because he's the kind of player that I think would do particularly well for Aberdeen.
And Darren, you highlighted someone that I think has always been a good player. I was amazed Hibs let him go. I think he's got a good bit of skill about him. He's a good midfielder. David Wotherspoon, I like him. He's a quiet, unassuming boy, just goes about his business.
Yeah, Peter. He's the one that'll produce a little bit of magic that they need. That'll open the defence up. I think they've probably gone with Middleton. I had Glenn with the Scotland 19s, and even though I think Porteous and Hanlon are very good defenders, they're not the quickest, and Glenn's lightning quick. So I think they're probably looking at that, and obviously the wee boy Ali McCann. But I do think Wotherspoon is the one that they'll try and get on the ball in behind the Hibs midfield. And as I say, Gabby said he likes to step over. He can strike it with both feet. He gets himself into wide areas, crosses for Rooney coming into the back stick and all that. So, but yeah, I would say he's the star man.
Yeah, Gabriel, you've watched more than a few games. You and I have been out at more than a few games. As far as Hibs, I mean, everybody talks about Martin Boyle, but I like Newell as well. Joe Newell just has that sweet left peg. He does it neat and tidy.
Yeah, Newell, he's not a goal scorer and doesn't get too many assists either, but everything that Hibs do that is positive often comes through him. He's got that lovely left foot, and he's kind of the almost throwback box-to-box midfielder. He's not necessarily a holder. He's not a number 10. He just tries to get about the pitch. He makes tackles. He gets up for headers. He takes set pieces. And I'm a really big fan of him. I've been going on to my Aberdeen friends at the start of the season who said that Ferguson and McCrory were the best midfield outside of the old firm in Scotland. I said, I'm not too sure. You've got Joe Newell and Alex Gogic, who Gogic goes around and makes tackles. And I think they just play well as a two. And then when you chuck in Jackson Irvine, who arrived at Christmas, and they'll be hoping, by the way, that Hibs keep him when his contract is up after this match. I think it's just the perfect mix in there, and the Irving can drift out wide. It's just got a real nice fluidity, and a lot of that does come down to Newell, and then it allows to release Martin Boyle on that right-hand side, and Doidge and Nisbet. And for me, we talk about match winners. It's Nisbet for me today. I thought he was fantastic in the semi-final against Dundee United, and only be boosted by that Scotland call-up midweek.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make there, because Darren, trying to pick the best midfield. I mean, the best midfield for me this season is Rangers by far. I mean, Davis has been outstanding, and the supporting cast. Ryan Jack when he was fit, they absolutely bossed it. Aribo as well with his left peg, and Hadji would come in every now and then. They've been tops, but I wonder who's been the second best midfield. Darren, it's a tough one to call, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Gabby's right. I think Gogic does go about his job, and yes, he's neat and tidy, but I think Newell gets on the ball and can see a pass, can make a pass. He'll probably play as more as a 6, and yes, push forward as well. But then you've got, I think a big one was, I've always been a fan of Jackson Irvine. I think that's been a huge signing for them, and to bring him into the midfield along with the threat of Boyle's pace. You would probably go as far as say that's probably the second best midfield in Scotland just now, Peter.
Yeah, I thought Gogic's second name was Yellow Card, Roughie, because it used to follow every time he got a challenge, and he's an enforcer. Is that fair, Roughie? He goes out there and tries to mess it up for people.
Well, obviously, Jack Roche has identified the three midfielders that used to be there were fantastic ball players. Scott Allen, McGeer, McGinn. Possibly none of them got any bit of dig in them at all. Great to watch, and fantastic the way the three of them played. But he's identified he needs somebody in there, an enforcer, and that's what he does. And Jackson Irvine has the freedom to go left or right or up front or just sit in there. No, I think he's identified three players, in the midfield that would play off each other and be strength to strength with each other. You know, and that's what's happened when they're on. The three of them are on their game. You know, they're very, very good. But for me, it's Boyle who's the icing on the cake. You know, once they've done their bit, they give it to Boyle, and then Boyle does the damage, and then it's up to the other two up front to be on the end of whatever he throws in there.
Yeah, okay, we're getting close to prediction now, and don't forget that Gabriel will be back with me at the end of the game. We might get a word from managers and players. I'm not quite sure we can give you an accurate time of when we'll be on. Just look out for the notifications on Twitter, on YouTube and Facebook, because quite simply, Gabriel, having attended and tried to interview many a manager and player in a Scottish Cup final, it takes a while once they get through all the interviews. So it could be a wee while before we all get back together to assess the 90 minutes and beyond if it requires any late show between St Johnstone and Hibernian. Just before we get the predictions, Gabriel, set the scene out there. It must be quite eerie, different. What about the conditions? What are we looking forward to for this final?
Yeah, it's one of the... I wasn't actually at the Scottish Cup final in December, so it's my first Scottish Cup final with no fans. Of course, it's eerie. Here at Hampden Park, it's a little bit enclosed. It's not the same as Parkhead or Ibrox where we are for the majority of the season, where you can get fans walking up to you and throwing firecrackers at you, as you remember, Peter, from a few games ago, one of the old firms. So yeah, it's eerie. There's hardly anyone here. Even a few journalists haven't walked in. Obviously, the buses come in under the stadium, so we've not even seen that. The two clubs put out a massive warning yesterday, said do not congregate in Perth, in Edinburgh, in Glasgow, and Aberdeen, wherever you are, to watch the game. Do not celebrate together because of the tender level we are at with coronavirus in the country. And no one wants to see a repeat of scenes that we saw last weekend, that's for sure. So yeah, very eerie. It is quite windy, but it's likely to stay dry, which is surprising for Glasgow. As we all know, it's the wettest city in the UK. Never seems to be dry pavements here, but it's dry today. Yep, fair conditions for the players. I think they'll be happy with this. Of course, they would have liked fans in, because even the 500 fans that were there on at Dundee on Thursday night made a massive difference to the home side. No fans, but perfect conditions for the game. When we'll be back at the full-time whistle, who knows? I remember we were here a couple of years ago and we were waiting for Neil Lennon to come out. He didn't come out for ages. That's because he'd just been offered the job by Peter Lawwell in the showers. I think Lawwell actually came out before Lennon to tell us he'd been offered the job. So yeah, we'll just come back as soon as we can after the full-time whistle.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like Gabriel with the last word there to alienate everybody in Glasgow as the wettest city, there speaks a man who spent quite a bit of his life in Aberdeen with howling gales, snow and every other Arctic condition you can think of. Anyway,
so it's freezing, but it doesn't rain too much. It doesn't rain too much up there somehow.
Absolutely, yeah, great. Gabriel's going to give us his prediction just shortly, but I think it's time. Roughie, you've assessed the teams just before we get ready for the big kick-off. Who's going to win it and why?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Hibs. I think Hibs have got the firepower. I really do. Naismith just been introduced to the Scotland team. He'll be absolutely buzzing. Doidge is on a good vein of form, a goal scoring. We know what you're going to get for Boyle. For me, it's the Hibs defence being as tight on the day, because as I said earlier, I think they've got quality players. The midfield we've discussed as well is very, very strong. I think the biggest problem for Hibs would be if St Johnstone were to score first. If St Johnstone would go first, there's a wee bit of pressure on. Obviously, the two semi-final defeats would be going through your mind, all that kind of thing. So I think Hibs need to be in the front foot. They need to get the first goal. And I just think the three that they've got that I mentioned, Doidge, Naismith and Boyle, are match winners. Don't see as many in the St Johnstone team. Kane will cause you problems. Rooney maybe at set pieces, but apart from that, they have not got a big goal scoring threat. So I'm going to go Hibs to win 2-0.
Hibs to win it by 2-0. Okay, I think it's a tight one, Darren, but I'm going to go for Hibs to win it. Doidge to score the 2-1. Where's your money?
We had a chat before, Peter, and I think it is extremely tight, and agreeing with Roughie to an extent, but I think St Johnstone do have a big threat at set plays with the three centre backs and Rooney. I think they have the threat with Witherspoon and Kane and Middleton, But I think Hibs will just edge it, Peter. I think with the three boys that they've got, they're flying. They've got 46 goals, I think Gabby said this season. And I'm going to go 2-1 Hibs after extra time.
Well, 2-1 Hibs after extra time. That's great. Just ruined my Saturday and Gabriel's as well, as we have to work extra. Gabriel, I'm going to leave the last word to you on this. You're there. You're at the game. How do you see it panning out?
No, I was actually going to go 2-1 after extra time as well, but I can't have the same as Darren. So I'm going to go
yes, you can.
misery for... I'm going for misery for me and you, Peter. This one is going all the way to penalties. 1-1. I've been impressed by Davidson's selection. I'm glad he's picked Glenn playing in that kind of number 11 position. I think Middleton will get on the score sheet. Nisbet as well. Shootout, it's just a flip of a coin. I think Hibs will just edge it. It's a huge game for Jack Ross. He lost that final of the playoff with Sunderland. He's been knocked out twice at Hampden here with Hibs so far, so it'd be huge if he could finally get this over the line. But for St Johnstone, we know if they do win the shootout, which I promise you it's going to now, they will be the first team outside of the Old Firm to win the Cup double since who? That's a teaser for you three.
Yeah, Aberdeen. Yeah, we did it
nice and
week,
easy.
yeah.
I forget that all of you are significantly older than me. God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get that in as well. Listen, great to hear Gab's out there. He's going to be back with us after the game, however long it takes. Good luck to the superstitious Callum Davidson and, of course, Jack Ross looking for third place finish and possibly the Scottish Cup as well. There's both sets of fans now congregating, hopefully just with their family in their house, getting ready for the big kick-off. And so are we. And all that remains for me to say is, from Roughie, Darren, Gabriel and myself, Peter Martin, do join us after the game if you can, but enjoy the match. And thank you to each and every one of you. If you can't join us now, join us for some of the Euros. We'll be previewing the big games involving Scotland, and we'll be back next season, I can assure you, bigger and better. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of the information that we have, download the PLZ app now in Google Play and in the App Store. You can actually video your messages to us, and you can also get all the latest breaking news, Scottish, English, European and world football, as well as just clicking on the football show live. You'll be able to see us on your phone, your tablet and your PC. It's all happening here at PLZ Soccer. Enjoy the Cup to Hibs. May the best team win from all the team here. Thanks for watching.